Greetings. I hope everybody's doing well. Right now in France, it is July 1st, 2019. In America, it's still June 30th. It is 12:30, midnight. So it should be about, well, never mind. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to go straight to the nitty-gritty. This is regarding this article that was shared. I can't remember which video it was, but it's a brother that been putting a few messages, Dana. I said that I would look it up, and I had a look. I couldn't read it all because it's just kind of painful to read articles that make such bold statements and strong statements and affirmations. And when we're looking for evidence, we realize that those people who make claims come short. What I will do is share a few links in the description box so it's done and I can just flow without having to worry about that. Bear with me. Okay. So I will read from the article, not all of it, but some of it. Now, the first link I'm sharing is Wesley Muhammad lying. Let me put this in the chat. Wesley Muhammad lying. Is shared. In this video, you will see Dr. Wesley Muhammad, PhD, making a lecture, and he's showing slides, and he says that these are slaves. But when you look at when you will look at his own slide, it says captives. Now, I'm showing this link. I've mentioned this individual, and I'm glad that I found his article. This one is called Kemet Nubia and Black on Black Slavery Between Reality and Romanticism, Revisited Part 2, a detail in the application of sources and quotes used by Dr. Wesley Muhammad. This is Casual from the group, hip-hop group Hieroglyphic. It goes by some other names, but anyway, I'm sharing this in the chat. So, goes by the name Maija also, but I will put Casual blog article about slavery and Wesley Muhammad's quotes. Hold on. Oh, it's too long. Dang. 266. The link is too long. And there's some website that can shorten links. Shorten URL. To bear with me. Oh, let me check that you can see everything on the screen though. How come nothing's showing? Let me refresh this. Okay, great. So there it is. So I can put this in the chat. That is shared. Right. Oh, hold on. What does it say? Error? What do you mean error? Okay. It doesn't allow me. Every time you try it. 201 of 200. 200 of 200. There we go. What a struggle. So this one has been shared also. That was the one. A bonus, another one about slavery. And one about some terms used by some people to claim slaves. concerning slavery. Is it the one? Okay, no, I made a mistake there. It wasn't that one. It was that one concerning slavery. There it is. And oh yes, this is important. What I'm at, it's still on the same blog regarding that Africans are living a jungle life claim. There is it shared, and I will start about this one as well. Actually, so it's at the door. Now, January 11, 2012. That's way back. He wrote, I was watching a video with a Q&A, that's question and answers, between a brother Shaka and a brother Ishmael. Well, Ishmael, that's a former member of the Amenwa squad. And at the time, he was a member of the Amenwa squad. And live on air, on their show, on their program, that member of the squad defended the teachings that says Africans are living a jungle life. And nobody else said anything about that. That's for the record. Moving right along. Bro Ishmael defends a statement in the 120 lessons that African live a jungle life. I think you forgot to put an S at African, but never mind. Here is a link to the video. I'm not even going to click on it because the video, it will not link to the video because the account has been terminated. Happened a few times, but anyway. I want everyone who utilizes semantics to defend the statement that Africans, you see there's an S, that Africans live a jungle life to adhere to the statements of Dr. Ivan van Sertima. Quote, Africa has less jungle than any other continent comparable with its landscape. With its land space. Second quote, if you take 2 Europes and put it in Africa, which you can, there are more woodlands and forests in 2 Europes than in Africa's comparable land space. Third quote, there was not a single high culture, not a single civilization of Africa that grew up in the jungle. He said these things in a lecture at LA Community College in 1986. Here is the video. The part concerning jungle starts at 13:27 minute 13, 27 seconds. Those facts can dispel any myths about jungle life in Africa. Enjoy your liberation. Aethiop Neos Matamoros. That's the end of the quote. That's the end of the quote. The Nation of Islam, and the Nation of Gods on Earth, or the 5%ers, do teach, say, believe, and defend that Africans are living the jungle life. It's part of their lesson that they call Supreme Wisdom and so many other names, 120, whatever. That's what they teach, say, believe, and defend. That's for the record. I did mention that some time back, so this is done. Now we're going to move to this article, and let me greet whoever I need to greet if I can see. Okay, the people are not really logging in now. That's all good. Well, welcome to y'all. Welcome to everybody watching. Feel free to greet me back. Type any comment or message. I will not be too long. It's regarding slavery in ancient Egypt. So now, this is the link to the article. As a matter of fact, I'll put the link in the chat. There it is. Shared by Dan. I will not read all of it. The ancient Egyptians kept slaves. Many of them were captives of wars. That's interesting enough. Many of them were captives of war. There was even a house of female slaves that produced them. Okay. Ben Herring at Universiteit Leiden wrote, chattel slavery is attested in Egypt from the late 3rd millennium BC onward. Persons could be bought and sold and inherited and may thus be called slaves in the legal sense of the word. Although Egyptian terminology is vague, hem, feminine hemet, and bak, feminine bakt, can both be translated as slaves, as slave, but also as servant. Right from the beginning, we are told that those two words, hem and bak, can be translated as slave and servant. Okay? Now, here, second paragraph, it says, although it is clear that chattel slavery was common, they're saying that chattel slavery was common. It is more difficult to assess how important slavery was to the Egyptian economy. It's very funny because ancient Egypt is so documented. In the same sentence, we are told that chattel slavery was common, but it is more difficult to assess how important slavery was to the Egyptian economy. In Europe, chattel slavery was common. In Europe, and also we know about the triangular slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, and it is not difficult at all to assess how important it was to the economy. Okay, people, we're talking about slavery here. Slavery in ancient Egypt. Let's presume that out of a dynasty that lasted for about 3,000 years, from Mena, Narmer, or Meni, or Menes, Narmer, about 3100 BC, 3100 BC, but let's say 3000 BC, to about 600 BC, 3,000 years, roughly, more or less. Let's say that one king established slavery. Can we say that slavery was common in ancient Egypt because of one king out of a 3,000 years slavery? Now, here, you see this name, Antonio Loprieno, from the University of Basel. He is the main guy that is quoted all through the article. If I go down, Antonio wrote. If I go down, Antonio Loprieno of the University of Basel wrote. You go down. Guess what? Antonio Loprieno, well, you know, it's always like that. You go down, Antonio Loprieno, yeah, it's always the same thing. Now, listen, look at this picture here. What and what is not slavery in ancient Egypt? A scene from the Moses story in the Bible. See that? We have a drawing, and we are told that this is a scene from the Moses story in the Bible. I mean, can I show pictures from comic books and talk about a scene from such and such comic book? Listen. Here, slave beating. Where does it say that this is a slave? One of the most famous here, slave market. Slave market. See this? Now, one of the links that I shared, which is this one, Kemet, Nubia, and Black on Black slavery. Let's go down. Boom. What does it say? Tomb of Horemheb of the 18th dynasty before 1348 BCE in Memphis. Kemetic officials are here taking a head count of Nubian slaves likely to be sent back to Kemet as required by the tribute due the latter. The image recalls a scene of a Middle Passage slave ship in Museo. Okay, never mind. Bologna, that's in Italy. Now, the caption obviously is from Wesley Muhammad. And there, it says, Dr. Muhammad equated this scene to a scene on a Middle Passage slave ship. This photo is from the east wall, southern part, in the second courtyard, KV57. KV stands for King Valley, the Valley of the King, the tomb of Horemheb. Please see the breakdown of this inscription in the work of Jacques Kiener at Find the Memphis Tomb of Horemheb. I will see if the links still work. No, there's not much there. Yeah, that's index. That's a homepage. Usually, that's why videos are nice, because many times you have website that are no longer there, or the website has been updated and so on. Now, in this breakdown, Keener, I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, makes effort to never use the word slave to represent captured Nubians. He calls them prisoners. Keener used the word servant on low-rank members of Egyptian official dome. There is other evidence that shows this was a Nubian wrestling team. A Nubian wrestling team. So we go from a scene of the Middle Passage, and the Middle Passage, for those who don't know, that's slave trade, when there was a slave boats. But anyway, hold on. Horemheb was the general of the Egyptian military before he became pharaoh. These accounts are of these military expeditions. Horemheb was the royal spokesman for Egypt foreign affairs and led the diplomatic mission to the Nubian governors that resulted in the visit of the Prince Maim, a scene depicted in the tomb of Hoi. Paraphrased, so and so. Remember, the Prince of Maim was a Nubian. Hechanefer precession brought gifts to Tutankhamun. The author of Kemet, Nubia, and Black on Black Slavery cropped. That's Wesley Mohammed. Because Wesley Mohammed used to have a blog. I don't know if he still has it. Maybe the articles are still online. I don't know if he still updates this, because he might be more busy with the Scientology and Dianetics. But that's who he's talking about when he says the author of Kemet and Nubia, Black on Black Slavery cropped a portion of 9 captives from the register in the relief of the tomb of Hoi to paste into his document as evidence of slave raids. This was not a slave raid. This is not evidence of an institution of slavery in Africa. The true scene depicts Libyan, Nubians, and Asiatics bow before Tutankhamun after passing through the inspection of General Horemheb. See here. Oh, that's how this link works. There we go. This message here is in French. It says that the page requested, and this is the full link, is not available. You have been redirected to the homepage. Unfortunately, it happens so many times, because this article that I'm quoting is from 2012. But anyway, find photo TC06 and notice neither of these Egyptologists refer to the Nubians as slaves, war captives. Dr. Mohammed's examples were out of context. And you are free to read the rest. And it's usually like that. Let me see. Hotel to Jerome Towns. Hope you're doing well. No other messages. So, okay. I think I've made my point. Here again, captive slaves. Captive slaves. Pictures and claims. Why we don't have records that says that those were slaves? Why? And it's interesting, because there we were told that it was depicting Libyan, Nubian, and Asiatics. Aren't you aware, people, that the Asiatics used to attack Kemet on a regular basis? And that, just for the record, and I think it's the Oxford History of Ancient Egypt, but I'm planning on putting out quotes, because I have a few archives, a few quotes. The Asiatics sent letters to the Nubians to ask them to join them to attack Kemet, to attack ancient Egypt. Did you know that? So now, when there's war, there's, okay. In this article, there's another one. I'm glad. Secure. There it is, there. Still that San Antonio dude. Oh yeah, regarding, you see here, laborer, Let me read this. Antonio Loprieno of the University of Basel wrote, while various forms of coercion to labor and restriction of individual freedom did exist throughout Egyptian history, slavery is rather defined by economic than by legal indicators. Some literary texts present figures of slaves called hem, and in brackets it says laborer. The same sentence that tells you slaves, they tell us how it is called. This is, of course, a transliteration. And in bracket, it says laborer. And then, or back, which is the Meduneto word. And in bracket, it says servant. And that's funny that, oh, but yeah, let me carry on. The documentary evidence is multifaceted. During the Old Kingdom, very large segments of the population were drawn to corvée work, exemption for religious service, and even upward mobility being possible while foreign prisoners of war were clearly enslaved. You see this paragraph? This is so interesting. Foreign prisoners of war were clearly enslaved. Now, when it's foreign prisoners of war, we are told that they were clearly enslaved. So the other one, it was not even clear. Am I not right to say that? And you see the word here? Seker Ankh. There. Hold on. Where is it? There it is. This book is called, I have to make it shorter. This book is called Middle Egyptian, An Introduction to the Language and Culture of Hieroglyphs by James P. Allen. Okay? Here is the term in plural. Seker Ankh. Well, they did not even put prisoners, but with the W, it's supposed to be the plural, but never mind. Seker Ankh, prisoner of war. Literally, one struck down alive. And we know that Ankh stands for life. Here is the Ankh there. You see? But with the determinatives and stuff, we know the nuances. So when we go back to this article, what they call enslaved are prisoners of war. I'm sorry. So basically, if today I am attacked by a foreign country, I'm capturing people. If I make them work, you will say years from now that I enslaved them. They attack me. I captured them. I make them do forced labor. You will say slavery. But we all know, we see, for example, let's take America, for example. It is not a mystery that in some states, some prisoners, people who are incarcerated in prison, in jails, in prison, let's say, they do work. Sometimes they work outside. And I think it's not a mystery that we can see them chained while doing labor. So I will be justified in their logic to put pictures of those those prisoners working and say, look, slavery, chattel slavery in America in 2018, in 2016, in 2010, chattel slavery. Look at the picture, slavery. They have chains on their feet, shackles. Would that be fair? No, that wouldn't be fair. That wouldn't be fair at all. So, what was the name of the person who? I will share the link straight away. And I'm looking for the name of the person who did share this link. Oh, by the way, we've reached 6,000 subscribers. See here? That's the French there. 6,000 subscribers. So that's great. Now, videos, I think it was Jesus Had a Witness, wasn't it? Let's try it. It's not the one. Well, I will look for the one. But that was Donna Murphy. That was Donna Murphy, and he shared the link somewhere else. So I will put the link to this one. I hope you're doing well, brothers and sisters. But you know, it's usually like that. It's usually like that. Ancient Egypt that has to be vilified. It has to be portrayed in such a negative light. And why? Because there's a theology, a book of theology, and people have faith, so they want to validate their faith, trying to use history for that. But they are not being fair at all. It's always like that. Always like that. And some people try to push Islam way further back than it used to be, just like the dude did with the so-called Allah in the Egyptian text, that Badaranda dude. B-A, well, I'm not even going to spell his name. The video is called Allah is not in Nubia Temple of Ptah. That's the video. We see weird claims. I mean, I already shared a video of the dude who claims that the Prince of Wales was black. Edward, the Black Prince, is, I mean, people, if you come with claims, you can't make them just so bold, because people will look it up. People will look it up. But anyway, I don't want to make this too long. I hope you're doing well, brothers and sisters. I have some Neto video coming. Be safe, brothers and sisters. Take care of yourself. I'll holler at you, and I will holler at you later. Uncle Jasineb, Hotep Senu, Hena Senut. I'm out.